Hey everybody, welcome to Gunship Battle. I am Grave, and today I want to talk to you all about carrier groups and carriers, obviously. So, in most strategy games, base builder games, you have some sort of hero or a bunch of different units that gives many different variables to the gameplay. This game does not have heroes. However, you do have carrier groups and carriers, which are kind of like heroes in this game. So, with that being said, every carrier has its pros and cons, has something that it excels in, other things it's not so good at. So, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what the game has to offer. So, the very first carrier you get is the Charles de Gaulle. Very simple, very easy to get it up to level 5. Once you get it up to level 5, you can upgrade. Actually, no, you can't on that one. Just the number one skill for that is the cooldown time. But if you go into the modules for every carrier, for the Charles de Gaulle, it increases armor. Now, the orange skills are passive skills, which means that they're always active to all your ships at all times. Now, the blue skills are exclusive skills that are only used when you have that carrier out with you. Okay, so the Enterprise, it holds more planes than ships. Its skills are also plane-based, so when you go into your modules, you will see a lot of modules that help with your ship evasion, your airstrike damage, anti-air attack, jet specialty attack, and airstrike count reduction prevention on airstrike. So again, the Enterprise is very Air Force base carrier. And like I said, it's very important that you go back and keep upgrading your older carriers, because that adds a lot of buffs to your ships and your planes, even if you're not using that carrier anymore. The Kuznetsov, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong, is technically it's a heavy guided missile destroyer that the Russians built, and then just turned it into a aircraft carrier that is in port more than anywhere. But I really like it in this game because this one focuses on durability as a common buff, and then your exclusive buffs are critical rate and AFV survival rate. But the biggest thing is that when you get a carrier group, this one gives you 5 extra ships in your carrier group, which is really nice for when you're doing Blitz or, doing PvP or something like that. So every ship has its pros and cons. It either has more ships than planes, more planes than ships, or it's got more AFVs than anything else. And so it's all about adapting to what you need and reading what the other person's carrier group has to counter that, and we'll get into that here in a second. So this is the Elizabeth carrier. It's got a little bit of everything on this one. So it's got a little bit of ship, it's got a little bit of plane. Now there are 4 modules on the Elizabeth carrier that are all for attacking alliance walls. So, I mean, I'm sure somebody needs it, and it's nice to have when you do need it, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Now, when you have your exclusive, which are blue, those are only activated when you have that carrier out and about. So when you have a carrier group, which is 2 or 3 carriers, those blue become active at all times. And when you have a carrier group, you get a bonus to modules depending on which ship you pick first, and or second. It's like 5 and 7% bonus to modules. So again, modules are very, very important. There's no wrong way. You do it to your play style or how you wanted to adapt to an enemy. these are all ways that you can do that. And we'll get into that here once we actually start talking about the carrier groups itself. The Nimitz is good for a little bit of everything. I really love the Nimitz. One of the coolest thing about the Nimitz is once you get to the Nimitz, starting at level... God, it's been so long. It's either 1 or 2. It starts out, instead of having 10 ships to defend with, you have 11, and then 12, and then 13. Which is really nice. When you're being attacked by somebody who has 5 ships and you have 13, you hold the advantage. So that's really nice. And I believe you get up to 15 once you get the forward carrier. I'm hoping to get that very soon. So as you can see here, it's going to say, alright, so your formation effect is you get submarine anti-ship attack. So you do 30% more damage to subs, and you get a 9 and 3% module bonus from your carriers. You get 5 extra ships and 2,000 AFVs. And then that other carrier gives you another 2, 1, and 2,000. Or was it 5,000? So let's talk about the actual carrier groups and how you can use this to identify what kind of ships your enemy might have and be able to be a little bit more successful by understanding what they're using. Okay, so it already showed you Lance LA. If it says LA, that means that they're running submarines. So you want to counter with the Dagger DA and use frigates. If you see a carrier with the RE at the front is actually for destroyers, so you want to go subs if you see that. The first 2 letters will be designated the carrier group that they're using or the buff that they're using. And the second 2 will be the carriers in that group. The Dagger carrier group, DA, is a frigate increased attack carrier group, so they'll be using frigates most likely. Go ahead and counter that with destroyers. From what I've seen, 80% of people will run the Lance carrier group. That is the sub one. So most of the time you're going to run up against Lance. That's going to be the one you see the most often, and it's also the easiest to get rid of. So you know they're running subs. Go ahead and throw your subs at them, but mostly frigates as well. And they also, 85% of that time, they use all 5 of the same type of units. For example, I use 1 frigate, 1 Indy, 1 frigate, 1 destroyer, and 3 submarines in 1 march. You'll see most people do 5 submarines, and then they'll send 5 frigates, and then they'll send 5 destroyers. And I do that occasionally, but only if I know that they actually only have submarines. Because submarines beat destroyers, destroyers beat frigates, frigates beat subs. So it's rock, paper, scissors. And then, of course, Air Force beats everybody. Except submarines, unless you have the Nansen class. So keep that in mind. Once you understand what each carrier group is, you'll be able to counter it much easier. SP is a two carrier group that gives you 30% anti-air attack, so it's really good with the Enterprise if you're doing a high level ASG or something like that. So, but definitely fool around with it, figure out how to incorporate that into your play style, however that may be. There's no wrong way. Just remember that these are your heroes, so to keep them constantly upgraded and you'll be good to go. I hope you guys like this video. That's all I got for today, I think. So, yeah, Grave out.